Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Extinction Rebellion live stream. I'm Marine, your host for the day, and we are at a housing rebellion event / march. We are working together with local associations, homeowner and housing associations to protest against the unjust housing system in this country, unjust to the people, but also to the climate and to nature as well. So we are here in Bexley at the moment in London, East London, and we're going to be listening to some speeches first so that you can get a bit of context of what is going on here in terms of the corrupt and unfair housing system, and also find out a bit from the local residents here what they've been going through and why they are protesting and why there is this connection between the way that our housing system is currently working, as well as for people, as well as for the climate and ecological emergency. Because believe it or not, there is a massive overlap between these two crises, and they really must be seen side by side to come to fair and just solutions. So without any further ado, I'm going to take you into the community hall here at the Church of the Cross in Bexley, and we're going to listen to some amazing speakers, and then we're going to go for a little wander after that. So stay tuned, and let's have a look what's going on here now.
Our community. Our community is a very lovely community, and we've all been living here for decades, and I'm sure a lot of the residents will be joining us. And we thank you, and we thank also the Abbeywood, the group that actually do the necklace, and also I can see Larry is here. Thank you so much. And there's also one other person that said you will not be able to tell us because of that things. I thank all the campaigners. If I want to start mentioning them, I might spend hours here. Thank you so much. You all be by us. Actually, this race started around 2015, and it's a community that are really strong, resilient. They want to have their home, they want to, after their job, they want to have a place over their heads. But in the last years, it has become a little bit very difficult because not that the community does not want improvement in the environment, but they want a process that is within their reach. Process lacks corruption. Process that respect their views. Process that allow them to dictate what and how what they've been having to be. But in the recent years, it hasn't been so. And it has not been so worse than even this period. And, when you look at the community, they are all strong. They are one. A lot of them will be coming. Some of them do 3 jobs, ranging from tenants, leaseholder, up to freeholders. They are on the same page. We are here today to ensure that they have roof over their heads, regardless their tenancy status. It is the worst time forever to think of such projects. Why would you want to put pressure on struggling communities and workers? It is reckless and careless, to even think of it at this point in time. So we thank every one of you that has been by us. What we are doing It might not be popular, but it's the right thing to do. If we have politicians here, they are the right people that are standing by us. But those that are not here for some reason, they are either weak or they are callous. So, but again, the message we want to send is they can never succeed. We are starting a new page that we must end it, because it is not just a crime for you to start, making people to be homeless, make them financially indebted, but it's evil. There is nowhere in the world where evil is condoned, is tolerated. And if you are a politician or a business person who will make this movement, the mega one, that either you have to work for the right thing, not popular thing, we will work against you. We will make sure we will not employ you, and when you get there, you throw away and you destroy the process that make you there. I want to tell you, the present, MP is very weak. The previous one, she was all the time with us, but the message will go to her. It will have some, political consequences. Again, thank you. We will be going through some programs. We will have polls. There's going to be speeches, aligned with what we have, because what we have to get in mind, the greedy developers and council, they want to divide us. They want to drag it. As long as they drag it, we will all win. Look, the message we want to send to them, we will remain resilient, whatever it takes. It's just the beginning. So now we are extending our mega movement across London, UK, because that is the right thing to do. Because what they are trying to do is unworkable. It's not working. So now we will be unfolding the programs. People will be speaking. I cannot know all their names. The reputable people that actually we can put questions across them. What you don't know, they're able to tell you. And we also have pledges here, whereby, regardless of your status, you will have, your name. The reason why we do that down the line is going to be very helpful, so that you know your property, your tenancy should be your own decision, not somebody decided for you. So I thank the Abbeywood, community, the resilience, the executive and others. Thank you so much. And other people, thank you.
So that was the head of the Abbeywood House Owners Association.
Thanks for the invitation. My name's Lorraine Douglas.
The Housing Rebellion Rally! Thank you to everyone who's been here for the last 4 days. This is an amazing action. We've been outside the Department of Levelling Up Housing and Communities all day today and Friday, engaging with the staff in there and trying to get the message across about the urgent need to deal with not just the climate crisis, like that's not bad enough, but also the housing crisis. There is a huge connection between these two things. A lot of you are probably familiar with some of the statistics. 40% of our emissions comes from the built environment. 11% of our emissions is construction. And often we're told, well, when they're not trying to convince us that all these new developments are the greenest thing ever, just because they stick a plant pot.
And even when they put the label of affordability on it, we know that they're not. 80% of market rent is not affordable. 60% of market rent is not affordable. 80% of the market value on homes for rent is not affordable in London, period. So who's going to be buying the homes that they put up here? We can guarantee it's not going to be local people, it's not going to be the current community who are living here. It's going to be property speculators. We're going to be seeing Russian oligarch money and Ukrainian oligarch money and all sorts of oligarch money that's being laundered through the City of London at a higher rate than anywhere else in the world, and most of it is ending up in the property markets in London at the moment. That's who's going to be buying the new homes that people is proposing to build and put up for sale. It's not going to be you, and it's not going to be the people who've got the most need. So it's out of order. Humble. And these homes were built, they were managed well by the Greater London Council until Margaret Thatcher abolished it in 1986. And then, like so many other estates, they were transferred into community trusts or tenant management organisations or small-scale voluntary transfers with small housing associations set up for the purpose. I worked on Charlton Triangle Homes when that was transferred to Family Housing Association. And like almost every one of those associations have been swallowed up now by bigger housing associations. Peabody is one of the G15, the 15 largest housing associations in the country. They're not operating as charities. They don't run their properties well. They don't manage their properties well. If you look at the number of complaints that go into the Ombudsman and the number of complaints that are upheld by many of the G15 landlords, we can see that the properties are not properly managed. They're not well maintained. People are badly treated. If they've got complaints, they're not being treated properly. They're not being dealt with as we would expect them to be dealt with. Now, since 2003, something like 13,500 council homes have been lost to estate regeneration in London alone. That's 13,500 council homes that have been knocked down and replaced by homes for sale or homes for market rent. And again, something that I think that is out of order. Estates that are less than 50 years old are being razed to the ground after 2 decades of managed decline. And let's be no illusions about this. This is deliberate. What's being done to working class homes in this country is nothing short of scandal, and it's been done with the connivance and the agreement of governments and local authorities for all political stripes in the interests of private profit, in the interests of development profit. I, for one, am affronted by the sight of boarded up homes when homelessness is rising exponentially in this country. Last Christmas, there were over 58,000 homeless households in London alone living in temporary accommodation. And that represents 1.6% of London's population. So nearly 2 people in every 100 in this capital city in 2021 are living in temporary accommodation. We don't know how many were placed by Bexley last Christmas in temporary accommodation because they didn't send their stats in. But we do know that in September, they had 567 families in temporary accommodation, which included nearly 1,200 children, and 146 of those families were placed outside of Bexley, so ripped away from their support structures and their families as well. We see dozens of homes on this estate boarded up long-term and also across the capital. And the demolition of council estates across Greenwich and Bexley and a failure to secure suitable homes for thousands of families in housing needs continues unrelentingly. The new homes that will be built here won't be meeting those needs. They're not going to be for social rent, and the vast majority won't even be for the so-called affordable rent, which, as we know, is unaffordable. Those that are going to be available for sale are going to be too expensive. Those of you that own your own homes around here are not being offered market rate. You won't be able to replace the homes that are actually going to be taken off of you and for which you will get scant compensation. And of course, the most important thing is, or one of the most important things, is the environmental damage caused by demolishing and rebuilding can't be justified in comparison to refurbishment and renovation. I was having a chat with my friend over here about how unbelievable it all is. It feels like we're in the twilight zone. Well, let's not forget that refurbishment and maintenance carries a VAT charge of 20%. New build has no 20% VAT on it. It's one of the major reasons why you've got developers going for demolition, because they actually get kickbacks for doing that and they're not paying tax on it. So one of the demands, I think, for all housing campaigns has to be remove the VAT on renovations, remove the VAT on repairs, remove the VAT on maintenance, and apply it to new builds. Stop the profits. And private developers across the board. These housing associations, they're big business now, and we know that they're not actually operating in our interests. We want to see the homes that were transferred out of council ownership back into council ownership, accountable to local councils and accountable to you as the people who vote those councillors into office. That's what's needed. Public sector homes, owned by the public sector, run by the public sector, and accountable to the people who are actually living in them. We want homes built to meet the needs of local people. We want an end to homelessness, and we want hope for our young people that there will be homes that they can afford to move into with security, and that doesn't leave them at the whim of absentee landlords charging over 3 times what the council would for the same property. And we want communities properly consulted about the plans for their neighbourhoods and balloted if they involve mass decants and demolition, where a bit of investment would bring them up to decent home standards in the next 50 years. And above all, we want to see communities having real control over their neighbourhoods, rather than being at the mercy of politicians who are enthralled developers and landowners instead to their electorate. We want new communities and the unions to be fighting together. It is very much in the interest of the trade unions in this area to see direct labour organisations reinstated in local authorities, to see design and build departments reinstated instead of leaving into the private sector to be designing and building our open space and our living space. The Trades Council stands with you in your fight to keep your homes and to resist their takeover and demolition. Good luck with the campaign and solidarity.
Some very damning words there, with shocking statistics about the state of housing in London and all over the UK.
Hello everybody, can you hear me? My name's Alice Brown. I'm a member of ACAN, which stands for Architects Climate Action Network. I want to talk to you about. Can you not hear?
No, keep the microphone closer to your mic.
Okay. I want to talk a bit more about why refurbishing is so much better for the environment than demolition. Because we're in a time of multiple threats to our ability to survive on this planet. I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but the systems that we've relied on to provide food, energy, housing and security are under threat. And one of the threats is climate change. Climate change is a very real danger. It's causing excessive overheating, flooding, it's going to cause drought, famine, sea level rise, really an existential threat. And one way that we can deal with it is by reducing carbon emissions. So buildings cause about 40% of carbon emissions globally. 10% is from the construction of new buildings. This is one of the reasons why we need to stop building new buildings and refurbish existing ones. This is another reason why demolishing this estate is a bad idea. It threatens all of our futures. So, excuse me. So in 2012, Bexley Council did actually commit to retrofit this estate, but then they changed their minds. This was partly because Peabody came on the scene, and in 2015, they decided to demolish and rebuild instead of refurbishment. and retrofit. But this is a wrong decision. As we've heard, socially, it's disastrous for the community. Residents who've lived here for decades will lose their homes and won't be able to stay here because new homes will be at least twice as expensive. But when we think about the environment and what we need to do to stop carbon emissions, it's also a disaster because demolition and rebuild results in far more carbon emissions than refurbishment works. Now, it is perfectly possible to make the buildings that you live in on this estate fit for the future. They are structurally sound. The reports that were carried out in 2012, when Bexley committed to refurbishing the estate, showed that the buildings were sound. But for some reason, that was all put aside when Peabody came along and proposed demolition. In 2015, since that time, we've had the United Nations make reports to the whole world that we need to radically cut carbon emissions. 2018, 2023, we were given code red for humanity. That means cutting carbon emissions, and that means not demolishing any building that is fit for purpose, which can be refurbished and retrofitted. Now, all these homes on Lesness Estate can be refurbished and retrofitted. We're seeing that the towers on the Arnton Way, they can be overclad with insulation to reduce carbon emissions. The ones to the north side of the Arnton Way were done previously, and that can be done again. Individual homes can be retrofitted. It is tricky, and it takes quite a lot of work to work out what the best solution is. The future, because otherwise we should be causing a huge amount of carbon emissions. So ACAN, as an organisation, is committed to helping communities like yours come up with retrofit strategies to put the case for retrofit. And in the opposition to this continual proposal to demolish and rebuild, which is so disastrous for communities and for the planet. So I'm here as an architect, and I'm sure there are other architects in ACAN who can help discuss with you how we might look at refurbishing, maintaining, and retrofitting your homes. There are funds available to do this work, and it needs to be made available to you. So I'm very happy to speak to anybody after this, if anyone wants to talk further.
Brilliant. So that's Architects Against Climate Change, ACAN.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. These are the things our local residents want to hear that is feasible. Thank you so much. Again, we have enough food, water, drinks, so we might be doing that along or after the speeches. So we really have to make everybody comfortable. So I think the next speaker will be now. Yes, thank you. Yeah, Councillor Scott.
Scott Ainsley from the Green Party.
I'm Councillor Scott Ainsley. I am a Lambeth councillor. I'm a Green Party councillor. And I've been a councillor in Lambeth for 10 years. I've been fighting estate demolition for 12 years. Some successful, some still living under the constant fear of demolition and the threat over their heads, which is causing no end of distress and people feeling really, really agitated. I'm here today. No, please don't clap. I'm just going to make a quick speech. And I'm here on behalf of Sean Berry, who is a Green London Assembly member. Their job is to hold the Mayor of London to account. And I think that to pick up on the speakers that have already spoken, education is preparation for fighting and getting organised, because you're up against people that are paid good money to sit and wait. They're organised and they're paid to be organised. So you have to, when you leave today, you need to speak to 5 other people in your community about what you've heard, what you've learned here today, and let it spread like wildfire. because a divided community is a destroyed community. A united community has a fighting chance of surviving and postponing and delaying. You have all created this community that you are living in now. You've lived here for decades. Your families are here. Your roots are here. It's in the core of your being and you are being priced out. You're being driven out. And I'm haunted. I watched a video in preparation for coming here today of a community meeting that you had 5 years ago, where one lady stood up at the back and she said, "What kind of people do you want to live here?" Well, it was you. You hit the nail on the head. Hit the nail on the head. Look, I've got an article here. It's called the Estates Gazette, and it was written in 1999, in March 1999. This has a go at Labour councils particularly, but this is a Conservative-led council. As you said, it's different stripes. Put the Greens in charge, we wouldn't demolish anything. Okay. But I had to get that in. But it says here, Labour councils in London are selling off social housing and displacing poor people in a bid to transform blighted areas. And the article is called Shelter for the Middle Class. I'll tell you what's extra. I mean, that was 25 years ago. That was written in the Estates Gazette. I'm going to send this to whoever's organising today's event. Read what's here. Listen to the speeches that have been said already. The mayor is in a difficult position, okay? They're saying that the national government is starving the region of London of money, and that all councils, and this is true, all councils' budgets have been slashed by up to 50%, okay? It has been an absolute mismanagement of, on a systematic scale, of communities. So if communities stay organised and hound their local councillors, you've got local councillors here today to defend your turf against a company, Lendlease, who have taken over huge swathes of London. But if you look at the profits of Lendlease, there is America, there is China, and then there are companies like Lendlease and BlackRock who own so much more than countries. But community who strongly
My name's Carmen. I'm supporting the Housing Rebellion Day of Action, 8th of July, and I'm going to be showing up for the Wynford because I oppose the demolition of 600 social homes and the community centre as well, and I also disagree with the whole policy of demolishing social housing and community centres across Glasgow, because it's not just happening in the Wynford, it's happening everywhere, and it impacts so many people. So yeah.
Okay, I'm part of the Extinction Rebellion movement. I've got absolute solidarity that I don't want these buildings to be demolished. One, because of the embodied carbon. Not only is it destroying communities, it's destroying the environment. And there's no jobs, there's no houses, there's nothing on a dead planet, okay? But I'm glad that the housing regulator is now saying that it's upon the owners of the buildings to keep homes safe, warm, dry, free of mold. Okay? In my ward, sheltered housing schemes that were threatened are still going today. We created so much stink. Everyone and some of them couldn't even get to the high road. They put up a petition in the community hall, in the newsagents, everywhere where you spend your money, you ask them to leave a petition on the counter. There was one trades guy on Streatham High Road who wouldn't let anyone out of the shop until they had signed the petition to save Glebe sheltered housing. And the council were so scared that they not only didn't shut down the Glebe sheltered housing, they were put off 3 other sheltered housing estates. So it can happen. In Lambeth, there are 6 large estates that are due for regeneration and have been for 15 years. Where communities stand together, like in Cressingham Gardens, they are now buying the rights to manage their estate, which will take it out of Lambeth's hands, out away from developers. Developers have got so afraid that they're thinking twice about whether or not they can actually go through with it. That's because they were united, they were organised, and you've got the unions here today that will help you with that. Listen to them, but spread the word. Set up petitions, get wherever you spend your money, tell everyone, tell your neighbours, tell everyone. And by the way, I'm here to represent Sian today. She wants to meet with the community. She's sorry that she can't be here, but she will speak to you. She'll arrange another time to speak to you all directly herself. She has exposed the estate ballots, i.e. where you're asked whether you want to be regenerated or demolished, and that it's difficult. I've got to be careful on how I say this, but yeah, she's found evidence that they've not been conducted with the utmost scrutiny. That's me being really politically correct, okay? That these ballots, they are not being done consistently across London, and they're not particularly, the ethics of them are being challenged by Sian at the GLA. The loophole from the Mayor of London also to determine homes as obsolete again, so that it can pave the way for demolition, is also being questioned by Sian at the London Assembly. Because if your home is deemed obsolete, that's what they're using to get money. Developers are getting money from the GLA, your money, by the way, your council tax, your rates, all of that. They're using your money as weaponized against you. So you make sure that you demand the answers from your councillors, that you demand the answers from your London Assembly members, that you demand your MPs stand up for your communities. But get organised, get together, spread the word, and fight this. And Sian will speak to you when she gets a chance to in a few weeks' time. Thank you.
Some strong words there from Scott Ainsley from the Green Party on behalf of Sian Berry, Green Party London Assembly member.
Arrange meetings down the line. Thank you so much. So I think we still have more people to speak. So who is the next speaker? Oh yes. Oh Larry. Yeah. So good.
Hi, my name is Scott McCauley. I'm with the Architects Climate Action Network. My background's in sustainability and life cycle analysis, and I'm going to be speaking at the Wynford for the National Day of Action for Housing Rebellion on the 8th in Glasgow.
You are business oriented or politician. We are on the same page. But if you are not here, we are on a different page. And as I've said, the MP is weak, but we will work against her intention if she refuses, to work with us. So we will do anything it takes. We will do anything it takes to make sure we remain resilient. As I've said, the Peabody and council will get the message after this meeting that we will do everything it takes. The more they want to delay, to screw every individual, the more strengthened we shall be. Thank you, Councillor.
It's one of the local councillors.
Right. Hello, everyone. My name is Larry Ferguson. I'm one of your local councillors. I'm a councillor for Thamesmead East Ward. We're in opposition group of Bexley. So Bexley is controlled by 5 Conservatives. They've got 33 councillors. I'm one of 12 Labour councillors, and I'm a councillor for Thamesmead East. We've got 3 locally. Some of you, I think, I recognise some of you from the previous meeting that was held back in, I think, about February, March. Now, I should just say, although I'm a Labour councillor, I know some people are saying, sort of whatever strike council, that you come across, or councils who are sort of destroying homes, demolishing homes, and it doesn't matter if they're Labour or it doesn't matter if they're Conservative. But can I tell you that although I am a Labour councillor, I do not agree with the redevelopment, and we're not all the same. If I can put it like that. I was actually. It just so happens that I'm on the planning committee at Bexley Council. All councils are on various committees. At the time I was on the planning committee, I still am, when this proposal for outline planning commission came up, for the redevelopment sort of around Yarnton Way, Lesness Estate and so on. Now, I spoke against it. I'm sure Janelle was there at the time, Ruth was there. So they were there when I spoke pretty forcefully against it, and I voted against Peabody's plans. Unfortunately, I'm a minority, or the Labour group is a minority on the planning committee. So you've got three Labour councillors, of which I was one. We all voted against Peabody's proposals, but the planning committee is dominated by Tory councillors, Conservative councillors. So they had the majority, and they voted it through. They, by and large, were happy with it. So they voted it through. So it went through. So the scheme does actually have outline planning permission. So Peabody technically can go ahead, and all that has to be filled in over the years that they plan to redevelop that estate or destroy it, demolish it, however you want to put it. All they have to do now is to fill in the details, as it were, with council officers at Bexley, or planning officers at Bexley. But I still think, I stand with your campaign, and I still think it's worthwhile, and I think there is still a fight to be had. I think you should be united, you should stand together. You should fight for what you think is right, and don't let yourselves be effectively pushed around or be given something that doesn't really meet your needs and doesn't satisfy what you should get. And the reasons I voted against the proposal was because I thought it was too dense. I felt density was a problem. They're going to put a lot more flats in there, or more homes in there. And we already have a lot of problems with people getting sort of doctor's appointments around here. You're going to have problems with traffic. You're going to think about schooling. So there's going to be all those sorts of problems that will come if you have far more density. Secondly, we think people who are here already, or I think people should be here already, should get their due. If you're going to redevelop their homes or demolish them, then you should give them like for like. You should give them new homes. And we as a Labour group locally, I'm not going to speak for all Labour councils and all Labour politicians and so on, but certainly locally, we're not against sort of redevelopment or rebuilding, but we think it should be fair to the existing communities. So we would like to see far more social housing, or far more council housing, as it was once called. And those who have homes should be, or own their own homes, should be given sort of fair terms, fair conditions, should be given a fair price for their property, that they can live locally, stay in the same place ideally, or live nearby, or go to somewhere where they're choosing. So, there are a lot of things I didn't agree with and still don't agree with, and I've had meetings with Peabody where I've told them exactly what I've told you here now, that I don't think this is right. And I know one thing I was speaking to Janelle about is obviously for those who own their homes, who've come into Thamesmead, bought their homes many years ago when it wasn't perhaps particularly fashionable and it had a bad name. They've made this community. They've made this community where nobody wants to be here, or not many people want to be here. And now they're being offered, in many cases, they're being offered money which will not allow them to buy something.
Save the flats! 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 Save the flats!
homes. Is that happening?
Well, I think the figure is, I'm not entirely certain, I think the figure is actually 35%, I think.
On social land, on council, on public land, the target is 50%.
Right, okay. Right. When the scheme was brought to the council for planning approval, what Peabody said was they were going to maintain, I can't remember the exact figures, but they were going to maintain, broadly speaking, the same amount of sort of affordable housing that was already existing. I think they were going to have maybe slightly less homes, but it would cover the same amount of space.
What about social rent and social rents?
Well, I mean, all of that is contested and is up in the air. I mean, this is a scheme that's going to be built over quite a number of years ahead. And as I say, it's outline planning permission, so some of the details are going to be filled in. I don't think that's all going to be satisfactory, but in theory, some of the details are going to be filled in. But from what I remember back in October, they were offering, I think, the same amount of space, if not exactly the same number of units. I don't think it was far off, but that's what they said at the time.
I have two figures to show.
Yeah. So, oh, you got the figures with you? Okay, when the gentleman comes up, you've got the figures. I'm just going to remember it. But anyway, listen, I'm not going to say much anymore. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Does that mean that that's the death knell to us? I mean, can we go against planning commission? So, what does it actually mean? Does it mean that's the end of this planning commission is wanted, so we've got no chance? Or does it mean we can't go against it, we can't go against it? In this late stage, can we go against it, or is that planning commission trying to?
Planning commission has been granted, that's obviously a pretty big step. So what it means is that people actually can go ahead, bar for building details and so on, so they can actually go ahead. But I don't think that means we should start your campaign, we should start, it's not. Well, but I won't put it quite like that. So it's obviously a pretty big step, but it doesn't actually stop you still announcing the campaign. Just point out what you think is unfair about it, or at least dance make it fairer, or at least give the residents and that's what everyone says to you. So you can still manage the campaign, you can still run the campaign, you can still try and put pressure on people, and make sure that you do get something from it. You're not completely sort of disenfranchised.
If the plans are not actually carried out for over a certain amount of time, then they have to reapply, don't they, for the commission?
Yeah. With any. Okay. That is the case. I can't remember what was. Yeah, I think it's closer to about 3 generally. It's less than 5 usually. I think that sort of cut-off can vary per application and depends on what type it is. But there is usually a cut-off point. Just one quick thing, before I finish. With regards to the homeowners, people own their homes, Peabody have yet to strike some sort of agreement quickly. If that can't be done, then there will be a planning inquiry where basically somebody will come in, it'd be like a compulsory purchase type process where you have like an independent person, an inspector or something of that nature, who will come in and oversee the dispute, see what Peabody has to say, see what the homeowner has to say, see if the process has been followed properly or not, whether what they're being offered is fair or not. So that may yet still happen. It depends on, for how long Peabody are in discussions with some of the homeowners. But at some point, Peabody will basically have to decide, well, look, we can't reach agreement with some of the homeowners. So, they'll ask Bexley Council, to set up a plan inquiry, whether one can be put in place. And Bexley Council are supposed to look at what's in the public interest before they agree to that.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you so much. That was a good one. So, Daddy will be speaking, and before then, actually, one thing we all know is going to be on the terms of the resident, regardless what body or council conclude. That has no meaning to what belongs to you. So what the councillor said, I will see it as cheering, but because the process is corrupt, they are corrupt from the bottom to the top. What will now accept corrupt process does not give effective results. If I am a mathematician and I create equation, it's corrupt, and I use it to stimulate a flight, it's going to crash. People will be out of business. It will crash. Thank you.
Thanks, Janelle. Thanks, Janelle, for organising this. Great to see everyone here. I came first to this estate, 3-4 weeks ago to meet people. My name is Dariusz Sokolov. I'm an economist and investigative journalist. I'm doing a report after meeting people here with a research collective called Corporate Watch. We kind of investigate companies, schemes like this. We've worked a lot in the past on other Peabody schemes, on schemes with Lend-Lease, which is a developer Peabody is working with in Thamesmead. We've supported lots of housing campaigns around London, including in Lewisham, where I live, in Southwark and elsewhere. So Janelle and other people I met last time asked me to have a little look through the development plans. We made a summary, we're making a report with all the issues, all the facts and figures. Some of them are written up there if people want to go and have a look. We will finish that document. I will also feed in what everyone here says. So we'll finish that report and we'll publish it so all the detailed information about what is happening is exposed for everyone. The other thing I think is really important, I've said to Janelle and people, is I think this isn't over. The outline planning application with Bexley Council, as Councillor Larry said, was agreed in October. This is still a process that will drag on. There can be lots of stages to come. One of the big strengths you have, clearly, is the really strong campaign by the leaseholders and freeholders, the homeowners. As the councillor said, at the moment, Peabody has offered people less than half the value of their homes, less than half what they would have to pay to move back into the area, which is a scandal. It is, in my mind, social cleansing and even, you might say, ethnic cleansing of the area. People, including many elderly people who've lived here, who've brought up their children here, their grandchildren here, are now being shoved out and told, I will give you a pittance which you can't afford to buy anything in London. Then if you want to move back, we'll give you a new mortgage and lend you the money if you're lucky, but you won't be able to pass it on to your kids necessarily. So this is a real scandal, but it's also a point of strength, I think, on what's involved in this development. So when they put in the application initially 2 years ago, the Lesners estate has 596 homes on it. This is not including the part that Coraline Walk that was already demolished. 411 of those were for social or affordable rent. Yeah. 173 of them were owned by freeholders and leaseholders. And there was another 12 that Peabody were renting out at market rent. So that was a couple of years back. There was over 400 social housing, ex-council housing. There was 170 owned by people. What's the situation now? As we know, Peabody, most of those affordable rented housing have been empty. They're boarded up, they're sitting there empty. Some of them they've put in guardians, they've put in people on short hold tenancies with no rights whatsoever. A lot of them were on the Bexley Council waiting list. I've talked to someone, we went around the estate before, they've been waiting for houses for years now. They've been stuck there with no rights, no security of tenure, just waiting on Peabody to demolish them. So you've got 170 plus homeowners who are being offered less than half the value of their homes. Plus, you've got a load of tenants on the council waiting list sitting there with no future, not knowing what's going to happen if they're ever going to get a secure tenancy. That's the situation at the moment. I think I'll just say, what's the plans for the development? So, these people ask this. The outline plan that went to planning application is they're going to build 1,950 homes. So it's going to be basically 3 times as much housing as currently. Of that, 1,200 will be private sale. Yeah. We're talking the average price they're looking at for a 3-4-bedroom house is going to be 600 grand. Compared to what they're offering existing freeholders, which is 250.
Oh.
So there's 1,950 homes, 1,200 private sale, 368, they're saying this is in their initial outline. And again, as the council said, all this could change, but that's what they're offering at the moment. 368 will be so-called affordable rent, of which 307 will be London affordable rent, which is what, 80%, 60% of market value. So that's not affordable for many. There will be left some social rent, like for existing social tenants who stay. There will be 61 for social rent. So from 400, we've gone down to 61. And then they're saying, oh, but we're keeping the same space for affordable housing. But the way they make that trick is by actually half of them, 279, will be for intermediate or shared ownership. So that's how they get their figures up, saying we're still keeping the same number of affordable housing. It's actually most of them, half of those are not affordable rent at all. They're the shared ownership, which you still need a good salary, you still need for the part-owned part, part-buy, part-rent. So that's just a scam to kind of fiddle the books, basically. So what we had is, like, before they demolished Coralie Walk, there were 547 homes for affordable rent here. Now there's 411. In the new development, there will only be 368, and only 61 of them will be really social rent at all. So that's the affordable housing side of it, which breaks, by the way, all of the guidelines from the GLA and from Extinction Council's own requirements, where they say they will have 50% affordable rent.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a thing we've seen time and time again on estate schemes like this. They break all their own guidelines, which is 50% affordable housing. We're building new homes. They break all the rules in their planning applications. And well done, at least to some of the councillors for voting against it. But this happens time and time again. How do they get away with that? Now, this is the bit I find interesting. Is like Peabody says they need to make a profit on the deal. Now, apparently they're a charity. But they're also, we know, a housing association that's grown year and year and year, becoming one of the biggest housing developers in London and the country now by buying up other landlords. And they say they've got to make a profit of 17.5% profit margin on their housing developments. They're making masses of money, yeah? This is a company that's a giant property developer. It says it's a charity, but it's a giant property developer making money. So they said, oh, we can't do 50% affordable housing because if we did that, we wouldn't make enough profit. And this was the argument that Bexley Council agreed to. So they submitted in their planning application saying, they submitted a report saying, we're actually going to lose money on this. We're going to lose 50 million. But Bexley Council did their own assessment of it, and actually their consultant found they're going to make £100 million on this development. £100 million for people like you.
There's hundreds of homes in there that are not given any of it.
Yeah.
I know, I mean, in my role alone, I've got 5 empty places. Yeah. They've been refurbished by people. They're not getting a penny rent into them places at all. They're going to break and ruin. No one's come to see them. They said they'd be high-end renting. They said some would be Bexley for families.
Yeah.
No, there must be, at one point, I spoke to a redevelopment man and they had 100 properties to that's more than triple by now. And I mean, that's the money. So they're worried about money coming in. But all these properties are now empty. They've not got a penny going in. They spend money on refurbishment. There's not one penny coming in. So it doesn't mean true, does it? It doesn't mean true.
I was looking at the finances and trying to understand. Like they're seeing they're going to make, in the long run, they're going to make £100 million on Leslie's estate. But then it's also a bigger plan for them. So Peabody are all at Thamesmead, basically. They've brought up the whole lot. And the really profitable bit, I think, is what they're calling Thamesmead Riverside, a new development they're going to make by the river, which is a global property developer. And they're talking Lend-Lease and Peabody, that's going to be an £8 billion riverside development. So I think the big plan involves like that, that's their long-term vision, is to create this whole new kind of yuppie city by the river that will, I think, be sold up to international investment funds. So that's where this, for them, is only like small fry compared to this whole big private development they're doing with Lend-Lease. Yeah.
You said that like the new houses will cost about 600,000, and that they're offering these people around here 250,000. But hang on a second. I've looked with some of the real estate agents, and the average price of houses in this area is 250,000, even in Thamesmead as well. So I'm not understanding how they could offer more when the average price of the house is 250,000. No, but what I'm trying to say is that something in Thamesmead.
Yeah, no, a flat might be.
For a one bedroom, maybe.
And then you're not just buying the property, you're also buying location. The land, right? Location as well.
What they've said in their report, like their own estimates, some of the ones they've sold already in what's it called next to the lake, those ones they were selling Southmere, they're selling for 500, 600 for a family house. For a one flat, a 2-bed flat. Yeah. So that's what they've sold the houses they built so far. So that's what it will cost to buy a new one. Obviously, the value at the moment here. The value on this estate at the moment is going to be less than that because if you buy a house here, you're living under the shadow of about to be demolished, aren't you?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So that's how they can argue the value is on.
Because of the uncertainty.
Yeah. To wrap up, what I wanted to summarise, we'll write all this up, we'll publish it on the internet, we'll send it around to everyone so you've got all the figures and facts to hand. But to kind of summarise it for me, what are the key things? We're talking about demolishing 600 homes, which about, of that, creating a lot less affordable housing, because most of the affordable housing they rebuild won't genuinely be affordable at all. We're talking about 170 homeowners being targeted, being pushed out of homes they've lived in often for generations, being paid less than half what they'll need to move back. But as I say, the question was asked before, is it over now the outline planning approval's through? I don't think it is. I think it's just the beginning. I think it's just the beginning. I think there's a lot of strength here. Like people said before, if you are organised, there's a lot of strength here. The most obvious strength, one of them, is you've got the 170 homeowners. Like the councillor said before, Peabody have got to try and make a deal with them. At the moment, their whole scheme is premised on the fact they're paying people less than half the value. So all their calculations are they're only going to pay people half the value. Now, if people stay organised, stay together and say, no, we're not doing it, we're not moving, we demand, at the very least, if we have to move, you're going to give us the price of a new home. That, for one thing, is going to mess up all their calculations, all their profits. So, I think if those 170 people can stick together, get really organised, can sign a pledge saying, no, we're not moving, and we can help with this, get really solid legal representation, get a good team of lawyers involved, and we've been talking with some who are up for it, who've done it on other estates, get a good team of lawyers involved to make this case. As the councillor said before, it will have to go to a public inquiry if they try and do a compulsory purchase. if you can make a really strong case, and the main thing is stick together, because what they'll try and do is buy people off one by one. That's what they'll do. They'll come to people one by one and go, oh, you're protesting, all right, we'll give you a bit more money. And they'll buy you off, and then leave the people who don't make a noise, they'll just get left. But they'll just buy people off one by one. So you've really got to resist that. You've really got to be organised, not let that happen. If you stick together, you can hold up this development, you can make them negotiate with you, you can keep making the argument for refurbish, not demolish, and I think you can really make a difference here and be an example for the whole of London, to be honest. And then secondly, the other thing I'd say, as well as the homeowners, there are all those tenants there who are sitting there on the council waiting list without any secure tenure, just being like treated like dirt, really, being just put in a home while they hold it on for demolition. There's been examples in other states of where the tenants in that position, the short hold tenants, have united or some secure. So that I think freeholders, leaseholders, tenants sticking together, organising together, you've got a lot of strength. You can fight to keep this estate, to refurbish this estate, at the very least get proper value for your homes and get those tenants put on secure housing. But we'll publish all this, all the information will be on the internet. I know there was a plan, I was just going to hand over to Janelle to do a march now, because the thing is to show Peabody and Bexley Council now that you're organised, that you're serious, that you're not going away. You need to do that and show organisation. Show this is not going away, these people are not going away, you're going to have to come back with a better offer. And the plan, I think, was to start that by doing a march around the estate now. So, I don't know if it's raining.
Thank you. That was a nice one. Actually, thank you so much. We appreciate your support. On behalf of the community, we appreciate everyone's support here. We are going nowhere. So, we said it in our speech earlier. We will fight, and there are other people that will fight with us. The only answer, the bad news for people, we know what they know. We go nowhere. We will put all our resources, whatever it takes. So all the calculation they are doing, it should be thrown into the garbage. We don't need it. The councillors, or I said the MP, whether they all want to work with us, history will be there to judge. But what we know, victory will triumph over this evil, and it will happen. Thank you so much. There is food we want to eat. Please, we have a lot of food. We are resilient. We have food, so we wanna go and we want to organize the way that you have food. Then after the food, then we will march, because we want to set mercy. So Peabody and council, that we are just for defeated. Thank you so much. Thank you. Do you want to march before we eat, or you want to eat we march? What do you want? Just a quick one. That is a Councillor Zena. So it came yeah. So as we said, if you are a politician, you are here, you are with us. But if you are not here for reason against us, we will work against your interest. Yeah. Thank you.
The Housing Rebellion Rally. Thank you to everyone who's been here for the last 4 days. This is an amazing action. We've been outside the Department of Levelling Up Housing and Communities all day today and Friday, engaging with the staff in there and trying to get the message across about the urgent need to deal with not just the climate crisis, like that's not bad enough, but also the housing crisis. There is a huge connection between these two things. I mean, a lot of you are probably familiar with some of the statistics. 40% of our emissions comes from the built environment. 11% of our emissions is construction. And often we're told, well, when they're not trying to convince us that all these new developments are the greenest thing ever, just because they stick a plant pot and a cycle rack in or something like that, they keep telling us that we have to have these developments because of the housing crisis. And it is irrefutable, we are in desperate need of housing. But we also know that it's a big lie. The housing they're building is not the housing we need. These big developments, glass, steel, concrete towers, they are not meeting the needs that people, we know from the number of schools closing in the centre of London, that these are not the houses that people need to raise families. They're not affordable, they're often left empty, investment properties or Airbnbs. And just building more housing is not bringing down the cost of housing for anyone who wants to buy one, because we have a government that is dedicated to doing everything possible to never ever let the price of housing fall. So it's just a big scam, and it's destroying our environment and not meeting, as I say, the housing crisis that's there. And we're here to say, we don't need to trade off our environment, our green spaces, our future to meet housing needs. There is 1 million empty homes, holiday homes. These could all be brought into use for people who need them. This government could be raising building standards to insist that every new home is used with sustainable building materials, and they could put the money behind it to build a generation of new council housing that would deal with the housing crisis and the climate crisis together. But what I really want to say is, why isn't this happening? Why are they not doing that? It's important we understand they are doing the opposite. Homes England in here they own thousands of hectares of public land. They have a £1 billion fund to buy up more public land, but it's not for public housing. It's deliberately to transfer to the private sector for new developments. That's their policy. They have spent 29 billion on the what do you call that scheme? Help to Buy scheme. A scheme which was literally put all that money into the pockets of house builders, enabling people to buy homes that they wouldn't have been able to afford otherwise, and to keep house prices up. They're handing out 11.5 billion in grants for affordable homes. But we know these are not affordable homes. They're going to housing associations like Peabody, which more and more just act like straightforward developers. And they're saying affordable is 85% of market rate. That's not affordable, not in anyone's real terms. So we know the solutions are there. Solutions to the housing crisis and the climate crisis are the same. We need to be able to together, collectively, democratically decide what we build, where we build, who has access to land and housing, how we share out those resources. That's the solution for the housing crisis and the climate crisis, and we have a government going in exactly the other direction. So I think we need to get the message across to the politicians, but more importantly, we really need to take action where the problem is, where there are houses that are being left empty just for demolition to make way for new luxury apartments. We need to occupy them. We need to refuse to let them demolish these or leave houses empty. Where people are being charged extortionate rents. We need to support renters to refuse to pay those rents, to resist evictions, to make this whole landlord business model unworkable. We need to take direct action where the system is failing, where where profit and greed are coming up against the needs of ordinary people and the needs of our planet. We need to take direct action to defy it, to stop it. And I hope that after today, that's the direction our movement is taking, and I hope you'll get involved with Housing Rebellion to do just that. Thank you very much.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Bexley in East London. We are on the Lesness estate, which is under threat of demolition by a big corporation called Peabody. We've just heard some speeches from various people, a local councillor, a journalist investigating into the issue. and we've been hearing from the president of the local housing, the Abbeywood Homeowners Association as well. And I think some of the really shocking facts we've been hearing is it's such a coming together of social, climate and environmental issues. People are being offered £250,000 for their houses, whereas the new homes are going to be priced at around £500,000 to £600,000. So not even getting half of what Peabody are going to be making out of this, and people are angry. Another thing that's really hard to, really important to understand is the climate and environmental impacts of demolishing properties. So you're releasing carbon and then obviously building new properties, which requires which will cause a lot of carbon emissions as well. So we're just marching around the estate now. There's a resounding support for retrofitting and demolishing. There's massive social justice issues here as well, where obviously people won't be able to afford to buy houses here in an area where they have lived often for generations. So there is a real sense of social cleansing, which is absolutely shocking. We've been hearing about numbers being skewed, keeping them making.
My name's Molly, and I live on the council estate adjoining these derelict flats here. These flats have been empty now for over 10 years, and it's an absolute disgrace at the state that they've been allowed to get into. On the estate that I live in, I know of families that have got 3-4 children in 2-bedroom flats. They are desperate, absolutely desperate to get better housing for their families, and they should be able to be living in these flats round the corner from where they're living now. And honestly, if the camera can pan around and show you the state of these buildings, and yet the potential for family homes in this wonderful space in the centre of London, it's an absolute disgrace they've been empty for this long, and the Ministry of Justice needs to hang its head in shame.
Yeah.
Hello? Can I take it out? That's a bad idea. Hi, can you all hear me okay? Yep. Great. So thank you for inviting ACAN to be here, and thank you all for being here. You're all really wonderful, and it's really nice to see you all here. ACAN, I'm from... Sorry, I'm just getting a phone call. That was the worst timing ever. So I'm Kian. I'm from Architects Climate Action Network, ACAN, but I'm actually an engineer and a teacher. And we're a collective of architects and engineers and builders and university lecturers and basically people who are from the built environment. And we realize, we acknowledge, and we're trying to make sure that we take action. And we have 3 aims which align with pretty much every aim that you've heard from every organization today, which is about decarbonizing now, addressing the ecological crisis, and supporting the cultural transformation that we need in order to make those things happen. It's really weird to be here again, because actually 2 months ago we handed in our petition to the government to start to regulate embodied carbon, which would be the way of measuring the emissions from buildings. Thanks. But ACAN's not against housing. We all need to have homes, and we've dedicated our careers to building and construction. But what we're asking for is common sense to address the climate and biodiversity and social injustice that we have in housing. Demolishing and rebuilding a building releases way more greenhouse gases than retrofitting or refurbing that building. So it just makes sense to start retrofitting more. It doesn't make sense that the government charges a VAT, so you basically get it disincentivized from retrofitting, rather than if you were to demolish and rebuild, then it's VAT free. It's also unacceptable that in the 21st century, people are dying in their homes due to overheating, fuel poverty, and mold. There are millions of homes that need retrofitting, and this would be a massive growth industry which the UK could export internationally. What we're asking for is healthy and fair housing for everyone. We'd like to, as an industry, we'd like to catch up with other countries which are already... I'm not going to fight that one. You can't hear me over it, can you? We can wave. Yeah. What we'd like to do would be to catch up with other countries that are already counting the carbon emissions, the greenhouse gases they release from their buildings, so they can work out ways to reduce it. The UK should be leading this, not following. We should have a national database of materials, just like every other country does, where you could count the emissions from the things you're putting into your building. Healthier buildings will reduce human physical and mental health issues and reduce the burden on the NHS. And UK grown and made natural products from straw, hemp and clay would be a wonderful industry for the government to get behind. And we would also like to start to reuse more material rather than burning or sending it to landfill. So really we're asking our government to make the change that we all know makes sense and make sure that everyone has what we all should have, which is safe and healthy homes. Thank you.
Welcome back in Bexley here in the Lenses estate, Abbey Wood. We are marching down the streets of the estate to protest the proposed demolition of the estate, which is going to release tons and tons of carbon into the atmosphere. It's going to cost going to emit greenhouse gas emissions to build new houses, and the people who are currently living here will not be able to afford to continue living here. So what we are seeing here is just this perfectly horrible mix of social, climate and ecological injustice. And we are just looking at one of the buildings where we will imminently be seeing a banner dropping down. We're here, joined here with local residents. Some of the local councillors are here. Got members of the Labour Party and the Green Party here. Homeowners associations. And of course, under the banner of Housing Rebellion, lots of members of Extinction Rebellion as well. And here comes the banner, we hope. So as we wait for the banner to drop, we're seeing some really clear themes coming out here. So it is clear that what the people want is for the houses to be fixed up, to be looked after. You see lots of buildings here that are boarded up, that are empty at a time when homelessness is incredibly high. We've got facts, I'm terrible with numbers, but I believe we've now got 300,000 people on the streets every night, which in this day and age is just completely unacceptable, where houses are being left empty and purposely being neglected so that the only opportunity or the only thing to do after years and years of neglect is for the demolished to be built. However, these new houses are not for the people who are already living here. They are going to be for people who have a lot more money. This is not just an environmental catastrophe, it is very much a social issue as well, with the corruption and just the end of it all is just beyond comprehension. And how are they getting away with it? So we've just had talks from several experts who are saying that they're fumbling the numbers, they're making it sound all great, they're saying that houses are going to be affordable, but affordable is a very loose term. And in fact, between you and me, the cost of the new places here that are going to be built, I sure as hell won't be able to afford to buy anything here. I don't know about, but oh, we've got the banner has dropped. It says refurbish, don't demolish. Hanging down here at the estate in Bexley in East London, Abbey Wood, where the community is coming together. And what was really interesting is one of the speakers said, it is absolutely essential for the people here to unite. Do not do this on your own. You must unite. You must stand together. Together, you are strong. And that is such a powerful message, because that doesn't just apply for the situation here in Bexley, in Abbey Wood, but that applies for everything. United, we are stronger. United against climate change, united against environmental destruction, united against social injustice, such as the one that we're seeing here, and sadly all over London and all over the UK, where people are literally being pushed out of their homes, not being given enough money to be able to buy somewhere similar elsewhere, and frankly are being socially cleansed away from the area where they've often grown up, where their parents have grown up, and the generations before as well. And I believe we are now going to walk. I think we're going to have a bit of photo opportunity, so perhaps now is a good time to do some interviews, if I can find. So here we have, this is the representative here from the Abbey Wood Homeowners Association.
Absolutely.
How are you doing today?
Oh, we are great, you know.
Sorry. Oh, sorry, Janelle. We're just going to come back. Sorry, say that again, Vlad.
Save our flats! 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 Save
And we're here with Janelle from the Abbey Wood Homeowners Association. Janelle, what's going on here today? Can you just explain for our viewers what's happening?
Yeah, actually, we are Abbey Wood resident, and we are using today to send message to Peabody and Bentley Council that the project they are embarking is not in our interest. Is sending us to poverty, and we have that in necessary boxes. We are saying no. We embark, refurbish, don't demolish, because not even at this point in time, whereby everybody is being put under financial pressure. Even before this, many years ago, 2012, we had already told Peabody, refurbish, don't demolish. So that is what we are, and a lot of other campaigners from across the UK, they are here today to give their solidarity, because the only way we can stop them is to do the right thing, but not popular. Right now, we are on it, and we are getting momentum, and the residents are highly relieved, because this is a process that has been launched many years ago, but is becoming mega movement. So that's why we are here today.
I think there's a lot of confusion around this issue, because a lot of people will look at the estates and say, yeah, but it's falling apart, it should be torn down, these people should get new houses. But I think that is a really that is a huge misconception, isn't it? What exactly is actually happening?
Yeah, actually, what they do, they deliberately want to make the place inhabitable. They do it deliberately. And if you look at the homeowners, they are able to pull their homes and refurbish it, and it's habitable. But what Peabody does is they neglect their tenants. They make sure they don't repair the home, they don't maintain it, and they use that one as a kind of a point to meet their requirement. Oh, where the house is is not fit for purpose. But actually, what is happening? Peabody has never consulted the homeowners. What they were doing, they were contacting the council tenant or their tenant. What they do, they don't maintain the home they've taken from council. They subdue that home in a way whereby is going to be inhabitable in order to make their point. So that is what is happening. So, and the Bentley Council don't really know that. They want to do all the check boxes, but just to meet the requirement for the demolition, which we have found. You want to make us poorer. You want to drive us out of this place in the name of regeneration. So we are stopping that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people also just assume that because they're saying the estate is being the homes on the estates are being torn down, and then new homes are going up. And I think a lot of people assume that then the people who live on the estate are going to have nice new homes.
Well, they have all been selling false information to people. They will tell you, you know what, an estate that comprises freeholder tenant. How would you set different information to the tenants, whereby you tell them, you know what, you will have nothing to lose, you will get new homes. But you will not tell the same freeholder, you know what, we will either give you 250,000 or we have to give you equitable loan. Whether you can pay it or not is going to pass onto your children. Mm-hmm. So, and they have not actually consulted the homeowners. What they are coming up with is either you have it, you get your house torn down. They have not given any option to the homeowners to even consider what they are saying. They are going through the process. If you don't agree, regardless what the resident says, we will give you compulsory purchase. Is just too unworkable. And in 21st century, such approach we see to be draconian. So we are not accepting it.
Yeah, it's completely shocking, because basically what it means is that the people living here, if the development goes ahead and these new buildings are built, it's very unlikely that the people living here now will be able to come back and live here again.
That is it, because you've already said that, because what they are doing, everybody knows, they are chasing everybody away to acquire the land, build Nosinos home beyond our pause. None of us can afford the homes they are building here. What that means, they want to take the one you have, get you to the one there, and if you default, which is the likelihood you will definitely default, you cannot afford it, they will push you to the council, and eventually that might start ending your life quickly. And a lot of people have already caught up with that. They've done that. They are gone. Some had heart attacks and all that. We have know what they know. So these new homes is not for us. These are for people that are rich, luxurious, people from maybe in the east or south, country. They are not built for the local resident. Absolutely not the case.
That's very clear, Janelle. Thank you so much, and thank you for everything you are doing. It's really important, and we're so impressed with you and your community, and so much solidarity. So we are here approaching the Peabody sales suite, but I believe we're going to go to another clip.
My name is Ailey. I'm from a campaign called This Is Rigged, and we're supporting the Windford because we're just frustrated when things are so obviously wrong and there's just like an obvious way that we can fix things and make this world better, but the people in power aren't listening to the problems. You know, we're talking about demolishing 600 social homes in a time of a housing crisis, and it turns out we've got so many people who are homeless in the streets of Glasgow. It's obvious that that's wrong. I mean, you don't need an expert to tell you that. And I guess the reason that we're supporting the Windford is because it's all these campaigns, we think they're different, we think they're all different problems, but they're not. You know, whether it be the climate crisis or the energy crisis or the cost of living crisis, they're all one problem, and that's the people in power aren't protecting the people and they're not fulfilling their jobs and their responsibilities. And we're all here because we don't want to see the people in our community suffer anymore. We want to stand up for the people that we love and the people that are around us. And if the government won't support the people, if the councils won't support the people, then we will. We'll take a stand and we'll look after each other. So that's why us as This Is Rigged are supporting the campaign.
I now have Caesar who'd like to say a few words. He's from an estate in Abbey Wood over in Bexley Borough, which is due to be demolished simply to make way for those unaffordable luxury apartments we were talking about.
Good afternoon. My English is not very good at this. I'm very sorry for that, because I never thought I was going to be long on this country. But I'm afraid this is the way it is. I live in Abbeywood. I went there over 20 days, and the area was very bad. But new people come in, and the place was getting better. But now we got a development which we don't want. All the community, they don't want this development. I think so. Development is good, but you have to have the property first. I don't think so. We are not against the development, but development, the property must be yours to develop. No, you don't. You can't go to another house and I want to develop that house. I'm going to knock down. I will make it better. I don't think so. That's democracy, isn't it? Because we have human rights, and human rights are supposed to be for everybody, not only for one, or for the government, or for the king. Because if you want to knock down Buckingham Palace, I don't think you will be able to knock down. Okay, so please, we want your support to stop this development, which the community doesn't want. We are trying to stop this development. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Yeah. So welcome back to Bexley. We're here in front of the marketing suite of Peabody. Yes, you will have been hearing that name quite a lot this afternoon. They are, in fact, the developers who are proposing to tear down the estate and build some pretty expensive homes that I'm pretty sure none of us can afford. And with me now is Scott Ainsley from the Green Party. Hi, Scott. Hi. You spoke very well just now. It's a shame Sean isn't here, but we're very happy that you're here because very passionate, true words were spoken. What do you think are the steps that we can take as just ordinary citizens who see these kinds of things happening all around us? I myself am an Ealing resident. We're having the exact same thing happening over there. We're all feeling pretty powerless. What are things you think we can do?
Well, look, there are a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things out there that can protect us. So, for example, the mayor is saying that if developers want to develop, they've got to do whole life carbon assessments. So it includes embodied carbon and the carbon that's going to be generated if and when it's all up and running. But that's down the line. That's to do with planning. What communities can do here to fight back is to say we're not going anywhere. We have built these communities. We've made them desirable areas to be, and you can't price us out.
We are people, and we want you to put people before profit. We need to put people on the planet before destroying it. If communities stick together, like people have been saying today, as I've said earlier, and they unite and they tell their neighbours and they spread the word and they say that we're not going anywhere. You've got to stop demolishing all these buildings. They've got so much embodied carbon in them. Just to chuck them down and then generate more carbon, 40%, over 40% of emissions, including all the trucks to bring stuff away and to take stuff away and to bring it in. If you could stop demolishing, and that you were to refurbish what's already good, sound, existing structures, that's 40% of carbon emissions that you'd be getting rid of. So, and people say, well, carbon and communities and social doesn't all go well together. It does. Because if you insulate people's homes properly, look after people's homes properly, there wouldn't be the cost of living crisis. We wouldn't be so dependent on foreign gas at the moment, with people really, really struggling. The two are interconnected. So keep communities together, keep them in their homes, keep these existing sound structures, look after them, and they will last hundreds of more years. So just stay united. That's the main takeaway from today.
Yeah.
Don't be divided. Don't let developers pick you off, and they will do. They'll offer all sorts of incentives. On estates, make sure everyone's in the room, make sure the community's in the room, make sure those that are accountable in the room, and then ask for a show of hands so that there's no sneakiness going on behind closed doors. But the main thing is stick together, come out, join events like this, and keep protesting, because we're on the right side of history. We're defending our homes, we're defending our planet, we're defending our communities.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Scott, and thank you so much for being here as well. It's an absolute pleasure to see you, and thanks for explaining to us the connection between climate, environment, and social justice in terms of housing. It's
all interconnected.
Yeah, definitely.
There's no racial justice without environmental justice. There's no social justice without environmental justice, and there's no economic justice without environmental justice. Is all interconnected.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Right, so I think we're going to have to wrap it up here from Abbey Wood, from the Housing Rebellion and the Abbey Wood Homeowner Association. We'll be playing lots of clips from all over the country in the past few days, also this morning. Lots of actions have been happening all over the UK regarding exactly these kinds of things. We want retrofitting, not demolishing. We want housing for need, not greed. And we want sustainable and fair housing, not what's happening right now, where it's just a money-grabbing game. And people are losing out they're losing their homes, they're losing their communities are being ripped apart, and all we're seeing is more and more carbon into our atmosphere, which is the exact opposite of what needs to be done right now. So we're going to take you around the UK a little bit more with some clips from previous recordings over the last few days, but from us here in Bexley, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you at the next live stream. Thanks so much, everyone, and remember, united we are so much stronger. Look at this, beautiful.
Whether if you are a businessman, businesswoman.
I'm Sean, Secretary of Wynford Residents Union. We are taking action on the 8th of July as part of the Housing Rebellion, Refurbish, Don't Demolish, National Day of Action right across Britain. We in the Wynford are representing Scotland against the power of money and social housing, against privatisation of working class communities. So join us on the 8th of July, whatever community you're in, get on the streets and stand up for housing, because it's been took away from us and it's a human right at the end of the day. Solidarity to all communities taking action, refurbish, don't demolish.
Berry, who is well-known supporter of communities fighting unfair regeneration in London, as a member of the British London Assembly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you all for coming today. It's really actually great to see so many familiar faces and so many campaigns that I've worked with over the years. My name's Sian Berry. I'm a private renter. I'm an assembly member holding the mayor to account. I'm also a local councillor in Camden. So in every single aspect of my work and my life, I see the problems that are occurring in our housing system, and I see every day that social, environmental, racial, economic justice can't be separated from environmental and climate justice. Housing justice is climate justice. That's why we're all here today, why your campaigns fit in so well with the aims of Extinction Rebellion. Now, I'm utterly frustrated with this department here. Our homes are one of the areas of our economy, one of the areas of our life where we've done the very least to cut the carbon emissions. And the thing about that is, it has so many aspects of it that are unfair and leave people in danger. If you were to cut the carbon emissions of our homes by making them less leaky, less cold, less damp, less hot in summer, better maintained, all of those things would improve people's lives. And I think the reason why things like industry, the energy industry, even transport to some extent, although I was over there the other day having a right go at the Department for Transport as well. But the reason why those areas of our civic life are further ahead is because when this department fails, the failings are felt more in private, more under the radar, more by those who are the most ignored, the least able to be heard by politicians, and those with the least power to get those things changed. People are dying from the failure to deal with the climate change in this building here, and not enough is being done. It makes me absolutely despair. Thank you. I work mainly as a London Assembly member, and we've added up the total cost of retrofitting, improving the insulation, making the homes less leaky, less cold, less damp, less mouldy in London. And from London's homes alone, we need to spend £60 billion just to get things up to a decent standard. At a national level, I've had to argue this as well. I used to be the co-leader of the Greens, and in the 2019 general election, I was talking about spending £100 billion a year on our Green New Deal. Nearly half of that on our homes, because we're so far behind on our homes. More recently, my successors as leaders of the Greens, Carla Denyer and Adrian Ramsey, pressed the Chancellor in the recent budget to put £250 billion into a Green New Deal. Caroline Lucas is bringing a bill into Parliament, the Green New Deal bill, in a cross-party way, working with other MPs. They're just ignoring us, and despite the benefits this would bring to everybody. I mean, it's not as if you wouldn't be working in every area of the country, creating jobs, creating skilled jobs, as well as making people's lives better. You'd be saving money in the health budget that only national government can really realise, can really count up. At a London level, we make savings in the health budget, we don't get to put that back into our budget, so we can't fund it. This government needs to, and this government has been letting us down for far too long. Now, I've got a note here somewhere, as I've been a Green campaigner for over 20 years, and it turns out that the first time I started talking about insulating people's homes, this investment, this street-by-street government-led investment, Greta Thunberg hadn't yet been born. That's how long we've waited for even the slightest proper initiative from this government and the previous government and the one before that. It's never ever been the priority, because the people who suffer the most from the failings are not the ones with the power. So I wanted to talk about that, but I also wanted to talk about some problems I've witnessed in London, because I think, as you mentioned in the introduction to me, I've spent a lot of my time as a London Assembly member standing up against the unfair demolition of homes. And we don't want homes to be demolished for lots of reasons, because it breaks up communities, because it takes too long, because the homes that they replace them with aren't the same social rented homes that they're demolishing. But there's also a really solid environmental reason, which ACAN, the Retrofit campaign from other architects in the architectural press, really make clear that there's embodied carbon in the buildings that you're knocking down, and you waste that when you demolish. There's embodied carbon in the buildings that you rebuild, and you're wasting doing that by not refurbishing the homes in the first place. If you haven't been already, the Aylesbury estate is partly demolished now, but there are many, many homes still standing, which you just go around them and you think, this needs retrofitting. And there's a fantastic exhibition. If you go to @Aylesbury_exhib on Twitter, you can find out they're still open for another couple of weekends after this one. Go and see the exhibition of the 20+ year fight that the Aylesbury residents have fought. And then there's the Grenfell issue, and I think just shouting out numbers and money that needs to go into retrofit isn't all we need to do. We need to make sure that retrofitting our homes is done the right way, because there is the danger that this government will turn around and go, okay, we'll put some money in and we're going to hand the contracts to these giant companies. And these giant companies are the ones who failed to retrofit Grenfell Tower the right way, that led to so many problems. There isn't the accountability that you need from doing things at a local level and handing that responsibility to government and to the Mayor of London. So we have to keep an eye on this. We can't just be shouting out numbers. We have to be talking about where the power lies, who controls what gets done. And then finally, we do things better in London. It's partly because we've got a Mayor of London who isn't a Tory, but it's also partly because we've got other parties like the Greens in the London Assembly holding him to account and pushing him to be better. There are now more restrictions on whether or not you can demolish homes in London. They're starting to make a bit of difference. Residents can have a ballot over whether their homes are demolished. I released a report last year showing how quite a few of these ballots are being conducted in a way that isn't fair, and the process still needs improving, but that is a slight improvement. But in London, we also have a giant loophole that's allowing for homes to continue to be demolished with money from the public purse. I asked the Mayor a few weeks ago about this. There's a clause that says if your homes are deemed obsolete, you can claim grant from the Mayor for demolishing them. And Alice, who is here, helped to demonstrate that in an article in The Guardian and some campaigning work that we're doing within Camden, because Camden is one of the worst councils for this. It's deemed 300+ homes to be obsolete. You look at them and you just think they need retrofitting. Lambeth is another council that's doing the same thing, claimed millions and millions of pounds in grants from the Mayor under this loophole that doesn't really check whether or not the homes are really obsolete. These councils are getting in there, claiming these grants and continuing with the demolitions that we fought so hard to remove. So we need to keep campaigning at every level. We need to campaign to our councils, we need to campaign to the Mayor of London, we need to campaign to this government, and we need to maintain the structures and the solidarity at grassroots level that claim the right to manage our homes, to do this work right when there eventually is the money. That is the way to make sure we get housing justice at the same time as climate justice. And thanks for listening to me. I could literally talk about this all day because it's most of my work. But I really, really appreciate all the work that you do. Absolute solidarity to all your efforts, and I hope that these few days of action make a difference, because it has been really energising to me to see so many people out on the streets tackling department after department in a really, really focused way. It's brilliant work. Thank you, everyone.
My name's Nick Dury. I'm part of the Wynford Residents Union, and we are supporting the Housing Day of Action because 600 social homes in our community are threatened with demolition. We know what that means. Since the advent of the Scottish Parliament, 66,000 public homes have been demolished across Scotland, 40,000 in our biggest city. So that's had a tremendous impact on the affordability of housing. We now have a situation where the mode average wage is less than the average rent. That wasn't the case 20 years ago. It's because of that demolition of public housing. So we know that going forward, demolishing over 100 council housing schemes in London, for example, that's going to have a catastrophic effect on an area that's already well known for being the most unaffordable place in the world to live. So it's necessary that we come together across the United Kingdom to fight to save our public housing. because, you know, the enlightened planners of the past, when they built public housing, they did it to tackle an affordability crisis, massive sky-high rents, you know, racking out landlords. They were there to clear that stuff out, but we're going in the wrong direction. So we need to unite across the United Kingdom and say, you know, refurbish, don't demolish. That's why we are participating in the Housing Day of Action. You should too.
Hi everybody, my name is Moira Samuels, member of Homes for All and a Grenfell community campaigner. I'm not going to repeat, I think, what everybody has said already, and which I think we're all very aware of. But just to say a little bit about Homes for All, you know, we're a broad-based organisation, you know, that includes housing activists coming from social housing campaigns, campaigns like Defend Council Housing, Social Housing Action Group, involves, you know, campaigns, as you can see from the banners over there, Islington Homes for All, and lots of local campaigns who've been fighting for all the things that I think we're talking about today. But I want to start by saying it's fantastic to see this intergenerational coming together for us to start addressing and to challenge and to take on the housing crisis. Because if I go back, and it's now coming up to 6 years, if I go back to Grenfell, the social murder of 72 plus people, I think we're all aware what the basis of that was. Grenfell happened because there was a focus on profits. And all of us, everyone who's contributing here today, will be talking about the profits of the developers, the profits that have meant that actually companies like Arconic, Celotex and Kingspan lied about their products, but also the impact that's had on thousands of leaseholders who are now finding themselves also living in buildings that are dangerous. But that continuous demand for profit means that what everybody's been talking about, we find ourselves surrounded by these huge skyscrapers that are really safety boxes in the sky. You know, I'm in the Royal Borough, or the rotten borough of Kensington, Chelsea, you know, where we have huge number of people in temporary housing, and yet there's 3,000 people on the temporary housing list, and yet there are 6,000 empty homes in Kensington and Chelsea. So as Grace was saying, I think the call for a mass occupation of empty homes is certainly a demand that we would support. So, in addition to actually the question of retrofitting, which I think we all agree on, Homes for All has, I think, because what we've seen is for people like me who's been lucky enough to get social housing, we now see a generation who are not able to get social housing. And we can see that in a cost of living crisis, where actually, you know, employers and government are failing to actually pay workers appropriate wages, that social housing really is the way forward. Because what we have is a younger generation who now at the hands of private landlords and having to pay 40% of their income on rent. And that cannot possibly be sustainable. So what I think Homes for All would like to see is a bringing together of all our campaigns, bringing together the younger generation, bringing together those people who've been fighting for decent, safe social housing into a movement. And I'd like to thank Extinction Rebellion. It's absolutely brilliant, actually bringing us all together. But I'd like to actually put a call out to everybody here. I think the time is now for us as a housing movement to call for a housing day of action. And I think that actually, I hope perhaps Extinction Rebellion, all the housing campaigns groups, call out to ACORN, call out to Renters Union, that we actually come together and that we demand the right to safe, decent and genuinely affordable homes. Thank you.
So, well, this is interesting. Tackling climate change when they're going to demolish buildings. They might be saying that the new homes will reduce carbon emissions, but actually they've, I assume, not counted the fact that they're demolishing all that embodied carbon. That is just offensive. And what they're producing will be new properties that will have a higher carbon efficiency, but actually the real way to address that whilst addressing climate change is to retrofit. So why they haven't taken that seriously, it probably would also save them money. So this is all really a bit of a nonsense. What they want to do is increase the density on the estate. They need to look at how they can do that in a way that doesn't involve demolition. They want to refurbish and see what opportunities may or may not arise without damaging the environment, and without taking, you know, that estate is now, the landscaping is so beautiful. It's bedded in. It's the kind of estate we would be dreaming of building rather than we should be taking down and replacing.
And a member of the fantastic London Renters Union.
Hi everyone. I was hoping to get someone from the London Renters Union staff or the like to come, rather than just me, a member, speaking in a personal capacity, especially because all weekend I've been helping to organise the picket against the Home Office, so my brain's a bit melted, so bear with me. The reason it is just me is there's a demonstration in Tower Hamlets right now, co-called by the London Renters Union, after a fire on March the 5th in private rented accommodation killed Mizano Rahman. In a 3-bedroom flat in Shadwell, where the fire started, 18 people were living in a 3-bedroom flat. The 17 survivors are now facing homelessness and inadequate housing support. There's a demonstration there right now, but it's fair to say that this is disgusting. It's just, sadly, one case of many in our housing system in London. It's what Engels famously called social murder. The way we run our housing system is killing people, and as we say here, it's also killing our environment. The London Renters Union is the largest renters union in London, with branches in 7 boroughs. We're a mass membership union of private and social renters, and we support our members to come together when we face disrepair, eviction, and any of the illnesses that come with our broken housing system. To put it simply, we are working class renters coming together to fight back. At the moment, in the cost of living crisis, it is renters who are facing widespread eviction, rampaging, profit gouging rents from the landlord class, and more cash in hand and unsafe, environmentally destructive housing. Our mission as a union is to transform the housing system. That is a climate mission as well. The reason housing is poorly insulated, poorly ventilated, and a health risk for much of the country is simple. It's landlordism and housing as an asset, not a home. We fall into a trap by reducing the housing system to an issue of not enough homes. The Tories love that. The Tories love the idea that there are not enough homes because they use it to gut environmental planning legislation and so-called red tape. The issue is who owns housing and how they profit from it. You can build as many homes as you want. If they are bought as assets or buy-to-let, we remain trapped in the same cycle. That's why, as organisations like London Renters Union, ACORN, Living Rent, our comrades Catch You in Ireland, we are building an alliance of renters to undermine the landlord economy and Britain and Ireland's rigged housing system. This struggle is ultimately about giving us the space to think about housing as our environment, as the space we live in. When I ask members what their ideal housing is, it's not luxury, high-rise flats with pools that you can see out the bottom of. They want green spaces, maybe a communal garden, clean, mold-free air. They want to live not worried about being 2 months away from eviction at any point. That requires the organised power of renters, but also groups like this willing to take direct action against housing profiteering. There are quite simple things we need. We need a rent cap, we need an eviction ban, we need a mass retrofit campaign, and we need to talk about the expropriation of second housing and empty homes for social housing. Let's take it back as homes for people. We need green, clean, safe homes for everyone. And I'm pleased to see all of you here today and to say we can win that. Solidarity.
Hi, I'm Alex Forbes. This is High Path Estate in the London Borough of Merton in southwest London. Behind me is Marsh Court, one of 3 tower blocks here that were built in the 1960s. This estate has been earmarked for demolition, the entire estate, which originally consisted of 608 council homes. The new estate will have 1,136 private ownership or tenanted properties against 568 social rent homes. That's going to be less than the social rent homes that were here built in the first place. This entire estate is already started to be rebuilt, and demolition will occur in stages. I've proposed refurbishment rather than demolition, and interestingly 21 out of I think 71 residents surveyed originally favoured partial redevelopment but not demolition. Some 48 out of the respondents didn't want demolition or wanted the estate to be kept as it is. So it doesn't seem that over half of the residents polled were actually listened to. This is one of the new buildings that Clarion's built. As you can see, it doesn't fit in at all with the new tower because it's the old tower, because this old tower is deemed to be demolishable. Sadly, refurbishment doesn't seem to have been considered. So 1/3 of the new estate will be social rent homes, and the other 2/3 will be private ownership or tenanted, and people will need mortgages to get shared ownership flats and will need a minimum income of £30,000. Obviously there are already people living here who've lived here for a long time, and they will thankfully be rehoused, but this doesn't seem a very good deal for the people on the estates or for the 9,000 people on the social housing register in the borough. There will be no additional social housing really, so it's not going to help.
No more demolition. No more demolition. No more demolition. Start refurbishing.
Retrofit now. Say no to social housing demolition. Retrofit now. This country has got the ways and the means to house every single person in it. And the choice to demolish social housing is a social crime.
Climate crisis, cost of living crisis, and homes need to be insulated. And Lambeth Council is doing nothing. It's actually doing the reverse. It's knocking down social housing. It's making people live in limbo, in disrepair. It has empty homes on its estate, and it's not filling them. When it does let people live in there, they're under temporary housing, like their tenancy. They don't give secure tenancy. There are people in need, and there are homes that need people to live in. They will produce revenue. They will pay for their repairs. They pay for themselves. And Lambeth Council is only looking at building unaffordable housing. This is unacceptable, Lambeth. You need to stop our demolition, and you need to restore our estate, and you need to bring our homes back into repair, a place of repair and use. We want decent homes. We want warm homes. We need affordable homes, not just on our estate. Across the whole of Lambeth, people need decent homes to live in. And instead of giving people decent homes, instead of using our estate to alleviate housing crisis, you are locking up and boarding up decent homes, empty homes. They're leafy, they've got nice walkways, they're a decent place for anyone to live in. We're not being exclusive. We welcome anyone onto our estate. So come and enjoy our estate. So we're saying Lambeth Council ends these empty homes. Yeah. So basically I'll do a little bit of a summary. You know, in the time of environment, the built environment produces 40% of our carbon emissions. And 20% of that is in loss of heating. The heating, the hot water, how we heat our homes. So insulate is the answer. It always has to. This is why you must insulate. But there's also a lot of carbon emissions in the building and demolition and building. And a lot of what is built is not affordable. So what you're doing is you're wasting a lot of the environmental resources. You're creating carbon emissions for things that people cannot live with. It's a commodity. You're treating them as assets for land banking, for Airbnb, for renting out at really extortionate prices. We're saying end this folly now.
Hi, my name is Ataberk Aksit, and I'm one of the many campaigners for Save the Warehouses, fighting for housing justice. We as the campaigners are residents of Omega Works, a historic piano factory that once created the largest grand piano in the world and now offering affordable housing to over 100 people with creative ambitions that match the history of this building. But Omega Works is under threat. Our landlords at Majorling, a real estate company that owns swathes of properties all across London, want to capitalize on the creativity that is produced right here by this community by kicking us out, demolishing our homes, replacing them with unaffordable luxury houses, and then calling them warehouse-inspired living. We, as the residents of Omega Works, have not been meaningfully consulted with at any point of the development stage, and as a result, none of us are going to be able to move back in if the plans do go forward. Our landlords want to make over 100 people homeless, and we could receive our notices as soon as October, but we are fighting back. While the plans await for their approval from the Haringey Council, we as Save the Warehouses have organized our local community into submitting hundreds of objection letters to the Planning Committee of Haringey and over 6,000 signatures on our petition. Together, we're causing our landlords a real headache. While we fight these development plans to protect our homes and our community, you can show your solidarity with the warehouses by signing our petition and engaging with our social media accounts. You can find our petition on our Instagram profile at Save the Warehouses. Thank you.
Morning all, it is Saturday the 8th of July. It's Day of Action on Housing for Need Not Greed. We are at Trustlove House, Roman Rise, in the south of the borough of Lambeth, and here we are standing outside a monument to human folly, vanity, waste and unchecked power. We've demolished a structurally sound building here. We're building a £14 million carbuncle that will house people moved off this estate and people who the council thinks can afford to buy an unaffordable partly owned shared ownership flat. And it's a waste of carbon, it's a waste of money, it's disruptive to communities, and it's got to stop. Our message is refurbish, don't demolish, and the 80 to 100 empty homes on this estate could be housing families in need rather than sitting empty and being allowed to fall apart. Refurbish, don't demolish. Housing for need, not greed.
Here we go, in between two high flats. There is 151 and this one is 171. The approval by the council for them to be blown up was given yesterday, so we don't care, they're not going to do that, so that's fine. And here is our little day that we made for our Housing Day of Action. The first couple of hours are music, food and Barbie, and then starting at 2, got some stalls. Starting at 2, we're going to have some lovely speeches. Here we go.
We're part of the Housing Rebellion action that is taking place. We are specifically refurbish, don't demolish. We're standing outside Cressingham Gardens, which is the first place I live personally, and it's a really lovely estate, and they have been threatening them with demolition for the last, God knows how, probably 10 years. When the climate emergency happened and Lambeth said they were the first people to sign up for climate, that was the time to change their plans. Have they changed their plans? Of course they haven't. They still have 6 estates that they're going to demolish, when actually there are loads of estates that are standing with empty homes all this time while there are homeless people that could be living in those homes, and Lambeth are ignoring everything, not listening to any residents, saying they're doing consultation, which just means we're talking to you. It doesn't mean you're listening. It doesn't mean you're taking any notice. And worst of all, it means you are not changing your behaviour. Lambeth, you are letting us... Lambeth, you're a nightmare. You're letting us down. You keep making the newspapers. You've had the Kerslake review because you don't listen to us. We've had court cases and you're still not listening. Why, Lambeth Council, are you not changing your behaviour? Be brave, stand up, make a difference. You actually could sign up for another aspect, which is Energy for All, which I might as well mention. It's a whole new plan where everybody has a free band of energy. It's fuel poverty action, and it would suggest a free band of energy for absolutely everybody, so that not only the people who can't afford very much are able to heat and heat their homes, but also wealthier people would start thinking about what they do, because nobody wants big bills, which means it would actually cater to the people who are using too much. They would stop using so much. Energy for All is a good thing, and Norwich Council have actually signed up to it as a council. Lambeth Council, you could do it too. Come on, refurbish, don't demolish. Join in Energy for All.
Thank you. Lambeth Council, hear us say. Cressingham Gardens, here to stay. Lambeth Council, here.
Cressingham Gardens, here to stay.
Lambeth Council, hear us say. Central Hill,
here to stay.
Lambeth Council, hear us say. Central Hill,
here to stay.
Lambeth Council, hear us say. Central Hill,
here to stay.
Lambeth Council, hear us say. South Lambeth Estate,
here to stay.
South Lambeth Estate,
here to stay.
South Lambeth Estate,
here to stay.
Cressingham Gardens,
here to stay.
Cressingham Gardens,
here to stay.
Cressingham Gardens,
here to stay.
Central Hill,
here to stay.
Central Hill,
here to stay.
Central Hill,
here to stay.
Social housing is a right, is a right, is a right. Social housing is a right, not a privilege. Social housing is a right, is a right, is a right. Social housing is a right, not a privilege.
They're going to have all of this drumming and stuff going on. So they're going to be complaining about that. Does that then mean that the music group has to go, which is a charity initiative? And then the club room won't be able to be used for parties because people will be complaining, etc., etc. And then all of that grassy area goes as well, and everyone's rammed into there, kids in the playground there, so that's going to be affecting all of them. You know, the beauty of what we've got here is there's space for everyone, and you know, you can have your party, or the kids can run around and make loads of noise, which they do because kids are kids. And also, as I pointed out, I think they wanted to build 4 stories, is that right?
3 stories along here and then 4 stories kind of in the middle section.
Right. So then you've
and
got...
on the other side.
Yeah, so then Julia will be looking out her window, into someone's bedroom, someone's bathroom. I mean, you know, I appreciate there are places where that's how people live, and and I do appreciate that. But the argument that I was given was kind of like, well, everyone should downgrade to help those. And I'm just like, no, let's be aspirational. Let's find a really nice space for people who need it so that they can live somewhere like this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, we need to look it up. Not like just like what everyone has to. Do you what?
Can I suggest 2 spaces? There's the Roehampton Club across the road. There's loads of space. Loads of green space there. In fact, the car park there could fit 40 units easy. There's another golf course up the road for
Exactly.
for white
We need
middle
to be
class
taught that these
privileged men to knock a ball around on weekends. Loads of space over there.
Well, to
But
be honest,
somehow we all have to be squeezed
Exactly.
in here with another a couple of hundred more people.
and also they want to build houses down where the garages are, I believe. So that's squeezing more people in. And again, I said to one of the Labour councillors, I said, you know, at the moment, we don't have enough bins. I've been here for like 13 years. I keep saying to the council, we haven't got enough bins, we haven't got enough bins, we haven't got enough bins. Does it ever get solved? No. So you've still got overflowing rubbish. And he's like, well, we'll give you more bins. And I was like, really? Well, you're not now, so why are you suddenly going to do that when you have loads more people? It's not going to happen. You can empty promises. Sort of talking about more bike racks. And I'm like, where are you going to put these bike racks when you take away the space? You know? So it's like, you know, that's not, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in people's quality of life. And